What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode to the channel. We are actually going to be bringing you guys something brand new to the channel. This is going to be an MLB fan base tier list. There's about to be some brawls in the comments section. I know you guys are already excited. You guys are ready to see what I think of your fan base, what I think of you as a person. I'm just kidding. There's nothing personal. These are just my personal opinions from maybe some of the experiences that I may have had with the fan bases through via Twitter interactions, personal interactions, through the games that I've went to, things like that, or maybe just, overall, I don't really know where they are. We're going to get into this. We're hoping to be able to bring some tier lists into the actual channel, some baseball ones, because I definitely want to give my own personal input. We are also going to be bringing some podcasts, things like that to the channel, all baseball related. So if you guys are excited for that and you are excited for today's video, be sure to leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe for more amazing content, because only you can make a difference for today's channel. So your support is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, guys, let's dive into it. So like I said, we're just going to start off. I don't know. Do you want me to start off down the list? Should we start off anywhere we want? Should we kind of just comb through them? I think we might do that. So we're gonna just pick through them, and I'll kind of give my personal opinions and thoughts on the teams, the fan base, and this is just kind of an overall reflection on where I stand with some of these teams. So again, this is just my own personal opinion, nothing against some of these guys. I love baseball. There's never any harm in just loving baseball, but we got to do it. We got to do it for you guys. You guys are curious, so let's get into this. The first team that we're going to be ranking is the Pittsburgh Pirates fan base. It's S tier for me. It's my guys. It's my team. Roberto Clemente, Willie Stargell, Andrew McCutchen. Those guys are mine. They are mine. We had Doc Ellis, the no-hitter, the legendary no-hitter, if you guys don't know about that. But we have been struggling for a long time. We haven't had a World Series since 1979, and we struggle, and we still follow through. And I think the roots of this team they're pretty good. I mean, a lot of people, a lot of good talent, a lot of history, a lot of culture with this team. One of the first ever African-American teams to have every 9 players be African-American. I think that is a very monumental thing for the game as well. So there's just a huge impact for the Pittsburgh Pirates, especially culture-wise, especially just champion team. Although they are not the most winningest of teams, we still support them in their struggles. That's why I'm giving the fan base an S tier. Okay, moving on, I've kind of decided we're going to pick the Oakland Athletics. We're going to rank them. Oakland is another team. I'm part of me wants to put them S tier. I'm trying not to just pick out S tier ones. I really like the Oakland Athletics, especially as a fan base. I mean, these guys stick towards the Oakland Athletics. If you're an Oakland Athletics fan, you got Billy Beane, you got that culture, made the movie about the Moneyball team. You have that whole thing going with you, again, a very cultural team, a lot of good players from there. You have Ricky Henderson, players like that were absolutely insane. You had the era of young Mark McGwire, some very, very talented players. You had pitchers coming like Vita Blue out of this organization. So, I want to give them S tier, but they're not quite there for me. I know I have the Pirates as S tier, but I think we're going to, at least for now, we're going to do a final check at the end of the video. I think I'm going to leave the Athletics as A as far as their fan base and kind of go from there. Okay, right, let's dive into a little more of the controversials. We're going to go right with the Houston Astros. I know you guys were kind of waiting for this one. What is my opinion of the Houston Astros? So, as it stands, obviously, the cheating scandal, everything like that going on. There was a point in time where I would probably put this organization at A, maybe even S, honestly, but I want to put them at B. I feel like I would put this organization at B tier if they did not cheat. Regardless of who is there and who still isn't there, we're going off the fan base, everything. And the fan base in Houston, I'm sorry, guys, but it's pretty bad. It's not the worst. It is not the worst, but it's pretty bad. You guys are very, 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 very too defendant on it. It happened. We got to move on. So for that reasons, I'm going to put them at C tier. I think the Houston Astros definitely belong in the C tier spot. Mets fans, again, struggles. You guys struggle. I mean, you are the other New York team still. Unfortunately, I still think you are the other New York team. And I hate to say that. You're losing Syndergaard and things like that are kind of showing it. Lindor was not Lindor with that contract that we signed. I still have hopes. Good management, hoping to come out of there, hoping that these guys can really do something. Steve Cohen seems like a guy that might have his hat in the right direction. But your fan base, again, as far as a PNC Park fan, I had an experience last year, the Stallings walk-off home run. There was an entire Mets crowd filled in our own stadium, and they were chanting, "Na, na, 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 hey, goodbye," before the game was even done. And then Stallings happened, and we walked off. Edwin Diaz pointing up to the air like it's a pop-out. I was there for that game, and for that reason, I'm going to put the Mets fans at a C tier right along with the Houston Astros, because very similar. They have that New York media similar to the Yankees, which we will get into in a second, but the Mets, I'm going to go C tier. Too biased. All right. Okay, moving into the next fan base tier team, we are going to go with the Kansas City Royals, and this fan base, they stick to their team. This is a very unique team. I've always kind of been drawn to the Kansas City Royals. They seem like they don't get a lot of attention. MLB doesn't really seem to promote a lot of this. They just came out with new uniforms. If you guys haven't seen the new uniforms, personal opinions, we'll get into stuff like that in the near future. Maybe do some shorts talking about some like reveals of the uniforms, and just maybe some shorts about whenever things are happening. So stay tuned for that. We're going to definitely maybe be diving into some YouTube shorts here shortly. But I want to give the Kansas City Royals B tier. I feel like you guys definitely are very quiet around your fan base. I don't think you guys chirp too much. You don't brag about your team. Not that there is much to brag about. You're still a very competitive team, and you have a lot of good players, and hopefully you guys start to build in the near future, because I do see you guys potentially trying to make some splashes, because every once in a while the Kansas City Royals, they just kind of come out there and do their thing. So for that reason, we are going to put them in B tier. Okay, next team on the list, we got the Toronto Blue Jays, and a couple years ago, you guys remember, Jose Bautista, the moment that just quieted the world for a second. His home run legacies, the fan base, I think you guys are there. You guys definitely are there. You guys are really loud. You guys definitely make yourself known when your team is there. Unfortunately, you guys didn't push too far in there and didn't make the postseason this year. I was really rooting for you guys. Young Vladdy's a great player. Bo Bichette, just so many young, talented players in this organization. I don't think they have too much history. They have history. Every baseball team here is going to have some history. So I don't think I'm going to put the fan base at A. I don't think they compete with some of these other fan bases. They're not Houston Astros, Mets level for me. So I'm going to put them similar to the Kansas City Royals with me. Definitely a team that I definitely think is going to be building up soon. The fan base is nice. You guys show your things. You're not too negative. You're not too hostile. And for that reason, we're going to put them in B tier. Okay, next one we are moving is going to be the Baltimore Orioles, rivals to our Pittsburgh Pirates. World Series talks all the time, talking about those World Series games way back when with the Pittsburgh Pirates. We have the Baltimore Orioles, and for me, I mean, the team's wow. We're going to talk about this team. I don't think there's much to be said. Obviously, they're in the rebuilding steps is what we can say. The fan base is very much so very passionate and cultural as well. These guys definitely ride their team out. I want to put them with the B tier, because these guys definitely, again, they don't get to say much, they don't get to talk much, and they're just trying to rebuild. I don't think they're a horrible team when it comes to their management. I don't think they're bad with that. And again, this is just my own personal opinion. I'm going to put the Baltimore Orioles, I want to put them with B, but I think they're like the C team. Actually, let's change that, because Astros definitely are going to be like the bottom C tier. I'm going to kind of rank these a little bit there. So like first side of that tier is going to be like the closest to getting to the next tier, if that makes sense for you guys. So that is what we're going to do. Baltimore Orioles is going to be ranking in the C tier. Okay, trying to cruise right along in this one, we have the newly named Cleveland Guardians. And this one's interesting for me. fan base wise, I don't really know where to put these guys because now it's a whole different team. We can no longer say it's the Cleveland Indians. They are now named the Cleveland Guardians as of today, actually, as this video comes out. So a huge thing in baseball happening. I'm going to put them right in the bottom of the B tier because I think with that change happening, there's not a lot to be talking about how this team is going to transition. How is the fan base going to be now that they have to represent a new team in Cleveland? Is it going to be the same, or are some people going to be kind of frustrated with it, not too happy with the name? I've heard mixed opinions, so you guys let me know down in the comments below. What do you guys think of the new Cleveland Guardians, the new stadium logo change, everything representing on them? So with that being said, we are moving into the next team. This one, Miami Marlins. This is another one. Again, these guys rebranded not too long ago. Now they have the newer, slicker neon lights, kind of the traditional Miami colors. I really like the branding. The branding is a really good thing that represents Miami very well. They're definitely building a good organization. Derek Jeter is there now. A lot of upsides in this organization. I think besides the Oakland Athletics, I'm going to put Miami up in A tier, not because they are a great team. Again, this does not represent how good these teams are, how good the players are. This is just an overall opinionation of where I think these teams are as management goes, and just an overall team organization, the fan base, everything as a whole is what we are looking at today. So you guys may disagree, you may believe. I know my own personal team is the only S tier team, but we are going to be diving into another S tier team very, very shortly. Okay, so next thing that we are going to be talking about is the next S-tier team, and that is the New York Yankees. I know some of you guys are hating me down below, but I think the New York Yankees have to be an S-tier organization. Hate them or love them, I don't like them. I personally despise the New York Yankees, but they have the culture. They have the most World Series wins. This team is loaded with talent, loaded with a fan base that you cannot even really fathom. Despite them being in the New York media, like the New York Mets, they do have negative media, but man, it is the New York Yankees. This team just, it comes with a name that kind of holds its own, and they have a very strict culture of, you know, the clean shaven. You can't have anything. I think you can have a mustache, but you can't really pass that. You can't have any facial hair, so they're sticking very traditional, and, you know, regardless of how baseball plays out, I do respect traditional playing and how things are, the rules and the sets that they have with that team. You kind of have to put an organization that holds themselves at a standard, at a certain respect, and I think for that reason we're going to set the New York Yankees, one of the most winning teams in sports, in S tier as an organization. Okay, we're coming out with some heavy hitters. Another S-tier team is the Chicago Cubs. We're actually going to move the Yankees up number one because I truthfully think in baseball the Yankees are the best S-tier team. They are not my favorite, but as an organization, like we said, but we are talking about the Cubs now. The Cubs, another S-tier team, very, very, very history-driven. Wrigley Field, one of the oldest in sports. You have a lot of stuff going on. They are definitely heading in a little more of a downward spiral, so I think they're going to be the bottom of our S-tier list because I'm more leaning towards them being in A tier, but I think S-tier Cubbies fans, you guys are going to love me for this, but, you know, I think you guys kind of seen where your team was coming. You guys had that World Series high, and it's finally starting to kind of fade away, and you're starting to see these players leave your team. Javier Baez, Anthony Rizzo, Chris Bryant, you know, everybody's freaking out about the Cubs, but I think that's good management personally. I think you guys see that you are growing out of that shell and you are now have to head into a different direction, and you're trying to make the moves with that, and I respect that, and I think they are still an S-tier organization because they are doing things like that people don't really see just yet. Okay, talking about the man, the myth, the legend, the Seattle Mariners, the guys that held Ken Griffey Jr. for so long, this organization definitely has a cultural following. They showed that this year, filling out towards the end of the season during their postseason push. Unfortunately, they did not capture that. We are going to put them in the bottom tier of A because good management is definitely happening. I want to put this team in A before this offseason happens. I think that's why I'm going to put them in A, because I believe that this offseason they're going to make some big splashes, some big moves. Hopefully, I think they might go for a guy like Chris Bryant. I could see him in a Mariners uniform. Shout out to my guy, Draftneck Mark, because he's actually another guy that thinks that as well. So that is definitely something that is huge for the Mariners. I'm going to put them in A tier respectfully for this one. I hope to see good things out of that organization soon. Okay, now we're moving into things a little bit different. We are going to talk about our first D-tier team. That one's the Colorado Rockies, and this one, oh, guys, I don't know where to start. It seems like everybody talks about it, how bad this organization is and where they are. The fan base, you don't really hear a lot. I don't really see too many people who are like, I'm Rockies fans. You got to be loud. You got to be proud in what I believe is a good fan base, and I don't really see that fan base too much. I don't see a lot of people talking. Obviously, with Trevor Story, we know he's not coming back. Nolan Arenado being gone. The team's pretty much at that gutted point. Really, the only guys that we can be talking about are players like Charlie Blackmon, and he hasn't really been the Blackmon that we used to see in him. So, as an organization, I don't really see too many plans. I don't really see too many top-tier prospects. I don't see too much going on with Colorado besides that Coors Field energy that everybody loves to see, the long ball. But in order to have the long ball, you got to have people that know how to swing the shillelagh, and they don't have that together with this team. I think they're definitely heading in a long spree of being one of the worst teams in baseball for a couple years. So for that, I'm going to have them in the first list of the D tier. Okay, moving things right along, we are going to put another S-tier team in this category. This one going to be right above our Pittsburgh Pirates and New York Yankees, or our Pittsburgh Pirates and Cubs. We are going to be talking about the Rays, the Tampa Bay Rays. They are going to be the S-tier team that we are going to be ranking above them. Again, another team that I think They do things right. They're very different. They like to dive outside of the box. One of the teams that invented the opener. I like stuff like that. I think that is very innovative. I think this team is definitely going the right direction. They're getting players like Matt Olson from the Oakland Athletics. They're definitely making moves. Wander Franco is an absolute beast. A lot of young talent. They finessed my Pittsburgh Pirates into getting Tyler Glasnow and Austin Meadows and Shane Baz. So things are insane over there. I think the Rays are very, very much so an underrated team, and you're going to see something very competitive within my S-tier list as we move forward. We're going to be talking about the next team, but the Rays fans definitely good. The only thing they kind of have going is the Trop. I've heard not the greatest things from Trop, but I've heard a couple people say that they do like going to Tropicana Field. So with that being said, S-tier team despite not one of the best stadiums in baseball. And what could potentially be one of our final S-tier teams is the Boston Red Sox. I'm going to put the Red Sox right behind the New York Yankees. Again, that Red Sox-Yankees rivalry, something that both of those teams hold so good, one of the biggest rivalries in sports. I think you kind of have to put these organizations in S-tier. They seem to always be finding themselves in the postseason, and you guys know as well as I, there is not much more of an atmosphere around a Yankees-Red Sox postseason rivalry game, and that's kind of the whole drive of this, why I think they're S-tier. Here is because that fan base screams louder, in my opinion, than any of the other sports teams, and that's again another big reason for me. You have a lot of good history with this team. Players like Ted Williams. You have Fenway Park, that is just one of the oldest stadiums in baseball. The Green Monster. You have Pesky's Pool. Culture is absolutely there in Fenway. Boston is huge. Whenever they went on to that run after the Boston bombing, things like that. Those are only things that you hear about in storybooks, and they're a storybook team in my opinion. Definitely one of those teams, whether you hate them or you love them, you got to root against some good stories, and they've definitely been able to put that together in the past 25 years or so, and even more, breaking the curse, things like that, insane things. Along with curses, it's why the Cubs are in there, the S tier, breaking that curse. That is something huge out of baseball, huge history, and for that, we are putting them in S tier. Okay, moving things along, we have the Los Angeles Dodgers, and this one, again, big organization. They have people like Magic Johnson that have their hands in this. They have that organization that could put them in this S tier, A tier, and I really want to because of that. They win a lot. They're very challenging. They have that. But the fan base with the Dodgers seems more negative than what the Yankees and the Red Sox even are, because it's like this fan base likes to hate on anything that isn't Dodgers blue. They have Vin Scully, had Vin Scully, and he was an amazing part of the culture with this team. Jackie Robinson coming from the Dodgers, things like this. You have so much history with the name. I can't put them in anywhere around besides B tier, though, because that fan base is so negative, and you see them, and it just... that LA team. I don't want to do it to them, but I kind of have to. I'm putting the Dodgers in B tier, bottom tier, B tier to be precise. And sticking to similar traditions, we're going to be talking about the St. Louis Cardinals, and very similar to how we just mentioned about the Dodgers, they are going to be fitting into B tier because of that fan base as well. They have a lot of good culture, and they have a lot of good atmosphere with that, but I think that fan base, again, maybe it's because I'm a Pittsburgh Pirates fan, but they seem a little hostile in my opinion, and I am a gentleman of the sport. I do believe in that, and I think some of this team struggles with that. They've gotten rid of some of the better players in their organization. I think they kind of fail to capture some of those moments, but they are a good team. They're actually, in my opinion, probably better than any of these other teams in B tier. I think we're going to move this along just a little bit, put the Birds in front, and I think that fits it a little bit better because I don't think the fan base is bad to the point where we can put them in a fan base like the Dodgers, but the team is very cultural. Players like Bob Gibson coming from there. You know, you have a good handful of World Series moments. No one will forget the David Freese hometown hero against the Texas Rangers. Moments like that, very, very memorable. And for that reason, we are going to put them in the B tier. Atlanta, again, this is an organization kind of going to talk about some things. Don't want to mention so many things, but they did get the All-Star game stripped from them, and I think as an organization that kind of puts them down here, but they did just win the World Series, so do we put them here? I think it is only fair to kind of put them right there. We're going to put them as top tier C. Well, bottom tier B. We'll put them bottom tier B against, yeah, right there. Only because of a World Series. I think despite that, hopefully they'd be out of their minds. I want to put them somewhere else. If they sign Freddie Freeman, maybe they would get a jump in the list, but I think it's been like too long for them to not already just announce that Freddie has signed. I don't really see what's going on with that. The World Series victory, they did that without Ronald Acuna Jr. That has to say something about that team in general as well, and I think there's a lot. I love the chants in Atlanta. Everybody likes the tomahawk chop. Things like that are moving along with them, and for that reason, we're going to put them in B tier. Okay, moving along, Cincinnati. We're going to put Cincinnati right in front of the Mets. Again, Cincinnati, I think they are, again, in that hostility fan base, rivals to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Again, not very a winning team. You don't really see them attend the postseason too much. There's not a whole lot of talk about this team. They don't have a lot of great prospects. They have Hunter Green, which is an upside, but they're not really building in what I think they should be. So we're hoping to see this team do much, but I don't really think management has their hands full with a lot of different things. For that, I don't really have too much to say about them either. So the Cincinnati Reds are going to stay in C tier. Detroit Tigers, they have been making some moves as of late. I'm going to put them right in between the Guardians and the Royals. I think they're like the perfect middle of the pack B team. They're on that teeter-totter. Talks about them signing Carlos Correa could move them up the ladder. They could definitely be good. The fan base, you don't hear them too much either, but as of late, because of players like Akil Baddoo, you have some great catchers in House, who has been great, and we want to see more from this team, and I think that the ball's kind of in the court of management with this time, and I think this is really their time to kind of shine since they had that Miguel Cabrera, Justin Verlander era thing going on. Not to mention, that rotation handed so many Cy Young winners. The Tigers, they definitely have some things going on down in the scouts to be able to prospect out players like that. So definitely good to see out of them, and we're going to keep them right in the middle of the pack at B. Milwaukee Brewers. This one, definitely, I think, again, unfortunately for me, guys, I'm going to put them in D tier. I don't really have much to say about the Milwaukee Brewers. They're going to be above the Colorado Rockies. I do think they're not that bad, but they're not the greatest. They're a very winning team, but I don't really like the colors of the uniforms. I know that sounds crazy, but I think they're very bland. They're very dull. And they've instituted that yellow, and I know that's nice, but it's too yellow for me for a team that's the Brewers. I don't really like it. It doesn't really work for me. I think the colors are too offline. The logos, they change up too much, and I think they're a little too simplistic for where baseball's heading. They've had players like Ryan Braun in the future, a couple PED guys. I know that shouldn't represent an organization too much, but I think the Milwaukee Brewers just not really the greatest thing. I don't really think the fan base is great. Not good experiences at all, by the way, personally, for Milwaukee fans. Hopefully some of you guys that aren't maybe Milwaukee fans can change that about your fan base for me, but right now they're going to sit at D tier. Next organization we are going to be talking about is the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, and this team, we're going to put them right above the Cincinnati Reds at C tier. The Angels, they have players like Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout, some of the best in baseball that maybe baseball has ever seen, but not able to really build a playoff contending team that we have seen yet, and that is so frustrating because pitching has hurt them. In management, I mean, they just seem like they are just not treating this team the right way, and I want to see that happen. They signed big-name players, but it has just not shown. So really, with the Angels, again, this next season, kind of deterring them. I would like to see them in B tier, but they have not been in the postseason in a while, and we want to see them make that leap. Philadelphia Phillies, again, I love the uniforms. I like Philly. Again, fan base. Actually, personally, I hear a lot. Some people don't like the fan base, but this Pennsylvania rivalry, I've never had bad experiences myself with them. I'm going to put them right in between the Cardinals and the Blue Jays. I think they're a B tier team. They've had players like Cliff Lee, Roy Halladay come from them and be able to perform very frequent. They have winning players like Bryce Harper just winning the MVP, Zach Wheeler, a lot of good talent on this team, Aaron Nola not to mention. So they definitely have some good things going in the right direction. I think they struggle with their prospects though in developing players, and I think that is a big reason why they're going to stick in B tier for me, because you don't see too many prospects form from this organization. Padres, I'm going to hit you guys with something that a lot of you don't like. Bottom tier, C tier, right by them Mets and Astros. Okay, they're not Astros level, but they are a very overrated team in my opinion. They went and they spent all this money, and they have players like Fernando Tatis Jr., and for them to miss the postseason was definitely a gut killer for them. I hope to see them bounce back, but until they can prove that they can bounce back and take down the Dodgers, they're going to stick in C tier for me. Texas Rangers, again, this is a team that I'm going to put them in D tier. They're going to fit right in between the Brewers and the Rockies. Rangers, they don't seem like they got a whole lot going on. They seem like they want to build an organization, and then as soon as they build it, they get rid of players, and they kind of have that similar thing going with the Pirates. Again, Pirates only in the S tier because they're my favorite team, and I have a humble bias about them. So, to be honest, Pirates would probably be here if it was anyone else's organization, but for us, it is S tier, so shut up about it in the comments if you do. So, anyway, Rangers, definitely D tier. I think they definitely just seem like they're missing. They have humble hopes, but in order for that to pursue, we need to see those humble hopes pursue. Next one going on, Arizona Diamondbacks. Again, we're going to put them in D tier as well. Traded away everyone. Signed players like Madison Bumgarner. Didn't really understand the move personally. It doesn't really seem like they're doing too much. Ketel Marte probably should be getting traded, honestly, to build this team up. I think management's kind of scared to do that. They don't really want to admit to a rebuild, even though they're definitely in a rebuild. So the Arizona Diamondbacks are D tier because I don't see a whole lot going for them for a while. They're kind of similar to the Rockies. I think these two guys are pretty much gutted between the Dodgers, Giants, and Padres within their own division, and I think they're really going to be kind of sitting down there for a while. Washington Nationals, another team that similar to many of these other teams we've talked about, kind of gutted as of recently, losing players like Harper, now not having Scherzer. They wanted to reach the postseason. They did a good job of trying to trade away those guys, so I don't want to throw them under the bus completely, but I think I'm going to put them right about here as far as an organization, just below the Tigers. They're another team similar to the Tigers, ready to kind of build that rebuild with players like Juan Soto. They still have Steven Strasburg, but getting rid of players like Trey Turner and then Harper going away, Scherzer going away. They definitely need to build more, but they need to kind of make that happen sooner than later, or they're going to be following around those similar tread marks of these D-tier teams where they're kind of running out of time and missed their deadline to make those moves. Giants, this one, A-tier team for sure, absolutely. Another A-tier organization, getting players like Chris Bryant in there. Unfortunately, they kind of missed the mark in the postseason, but this is a team, they had that history of just always appearing every 2 years on the even years, winning World Series. They definitely have the culture. They have players like Barry Bonds. The fan base is very, very much so alive and there. Buster Posey just retiring. They bring in some of the best pitchers. They have some of the best known players in baseball, in my opinion. They are definitely a borderline S-tier team. We're going to put them top tier, actually A tier, right above the Oakland Athletics. I feel like the Giants definitely deserve that, and they are going to be the last team of this A tier list. Jumping into the final two teams, we're going to do these ones in two takes. We have the Minnesota Twins and the Chicago White Sox. The White Sox, as of late, have been pretty good. We're going to put them just a little bit above the Kansas City Royals and Tigers. Again, this does not represent how good I think these teams are, but as an organization, fan base, everything, overall, we're going to say it thousands of times in this video, but the White Sox definitely have been building as of late, getting some good players, bullpen guys, and really still building on some of those prospect guys like Yohan Moncada that they have had. They still have Jose Abreu hanging around in there, and I like to see this team. They're doing a bit of everything within their building, and I think they're representing. The only thing I don't really like was the Tony La Russa move, and I think with that move, kind of put me away from putting them in an A tier. They missed the postseason. Again, this is another team missing the postseason. I need to see more out of the team. They're not quite San Diego Padre overrated, but they're heading towards being overrated if they don't pull something off in the 2022 season. Minnesota Twins, they are again going to be the last team that we're talking about. They're D tier. They are not the worst D tier, but they are definitely there. I think they're going to be right in between the Rangers and the Diamondbacks for me, and I think that is pretty much going to sum the video up with everybody that we have been talking about. I know I didn't talk too much about the Twins. There's really not a whole lot to talk. They have Byron Buxton, and that's really the one thing they've been rocking. Josh Donaldson, again, a very good player as well, but with those players, you need to build around that even more and continue to grow. And it seems like every time they want to, they end up trading things away, and they miss the mark a whole lot. And again, I think they miss the rebuilding strategy, and within a competitive division like they have, things are going to be bad. They need to make free agency market moves this offseason. I don't see them doing it. But with that being said, guys, that is going to wrap up today's video. Hopefully you guys did like our MLB fan base tier maker list. Hopefully you guys did enjoy it. If you guys do want to see more of these, comment down below what else you would like to see me make a tier list of. And I will see you guys all on the next one. Bye-bye.